The first thing they noticed about Emily Carter wasn't her resume, it was her voice. Soft, careful, almost apologetic. On her first morning at St. Matthew's Medical Center in Arlington, the senior doctors barely looked up when she introduced herself during rounds. The trauma wing was loud, machines beeping, stretchers rolling, residents arguing over lab numbers. Emily stood near the back of the group, navy scrubs pressed perfectly, blonde hair tied into a low bun, holding a tablet close to her chest like armor. "Speak up, rookie," Dr. Halpern muttered when she tried to report vitals. "We can't treat patients if we can't hear you." A few residents snickered. Emily nodded, cheeks warming, and repeated the numbers slightly louder. That became the pattern. If she suggested a dosage adjustment, someone interrupted her. If she asked a clarifying question, someone rolled their eyes. During lunch breaks, the older nurses whispered kindly advice. "You need thicker skin here," while the surgeons treated her like background noise. What none of them knew was that Emily hadn't transferred from some small-town clinic as they assumed. She had been recruited. 3 weeks earlier, she had been working inside a secure medical research unit contracted through the United States Department of Defense. Her work involved triage simulations for high-casualty events and classified medical response modeling. But when a cybersecurity breach compromised parts of the program, the Pentagon had quietly reassigned her to a civilian hospital connected to a new federal medical readiness initiative. Officially, she was just a rookie nurse. Unofficially, she was evaluating them. The incident happened on a storm-heavy Thursday night. Rain battered the ER windows when an ambulance convoy pulled in without warning. Not one, but 3 military vehicles followed behind it. The paramedics rushed in with 2 critical patients, both in uniform, both unconscious, both tagged with red priority markers. The ER froze for half a second. "Explosive training accident," one medic barked. "Possible chemical exposure, unknown compound." Suddenly the air changed. Chemical exposure protocols weren't something St. Matthew's handled often. The attending physicians began arguing immediately. "We don't have confirmation of contamination. We need isolation. We can't shut down the whole wing over a maybe." In the chaos, Emily stepped forward. "They need negative pressure rooms," she said, voice steady but still soft. "Sealed trauma bay 2, full contamination protocol, level C PPE minimum." Dr. Halpern stared at her. "This isn't a simulation, Nurse Carter." "No, sir," she replied calmly. "It isn't." Another doctor scoffed. "We don't even know what we're dealing with." Emily's fingers were already flying across her tablet. "Based on skin presentation and respiratory pattern, it's likely an organophosphate variant. If I'm correct, you have less than 6 minutes before secondary exposure risk." Someone laughed nervously. "And you know this how?" Before she could answer, the ER doors opened again. This time, the room went silent for a different reason. 2 individuals in dark suits entered, followed by a uniformed Army colonel. Their posture wasn't medical, it was command. The taller of the 2 civilians scanned the room once before speaking. "Which one is Nurse Emily Carter?" The question landed like a dropped scalpel. Every head turned toward her. Emily stepped forward. "I am." The man gave a small nod and held up a badge displaying the seal of the Pentagon. "Effective immediately," he said clearly. "Nurse Carter is overseeing the containment and treatment protocol for these patients." Dr. Halpern blinked. "Overseeing?" The Army colonel's voice was firmer. "She's in charge." You could feel the shift in gravity. The same doctors who had mocked her volume now stared at her like she'd grown another head. Emily didn't smirk, didn't hesitate. "Seal the bay," she ordered, louder now, not shouting, but precise. "Activate negative pressure. Anyone without protective gear, clear the wing. Dr. Singh, prep atropine. Dr. Halpern, you're on airway management. We don't have time to debate." And this time, they moved. Within minutes, the trauma bay transformed into a controlled containment zone. Equipment sealed, staff suited, doors locked down. Emily directed every motion like a conductor guiding an orchestra. She identified subtle muscle tremors in the first patient that others had missed. She ordered specific antidote ratios adjusted for body mass and cross-reactivity. She caught a miscalculated infusion rate before it could have triggered cardiac arrest. At one point, a resident froze, hand shaking. "Look at me," she told him gently through her mask. "You know this. Slow your breathing, follow my count." He did, and the patient stabilized. 43 minutes later, both soldiers were alive. Intubated, yes. Critical, yes, but alive. When the immediate crisis ended, the ER was eerily quiet. Dr. Halpern removed his glove slowly. "You've handled this before." Emily peeled off her protective hood. "Yes, sir." The Pentagon Liaison approached again, this time addressing the full room. "Nurse Carter is part of a joint federal readiness evaluation. St. Matthew's was selected for assessment due to its proximity to key federal facilities. Tonight was an unplanned live scenario." A murmur rippled across the staff. "Unplanned?" someone whispered. The liaison nodded. "The accident was real. The response was being observed." Dr. Singh looked at Emily, stunned. "I was evaluating systems, not people." Dr. Halpern gave a quiet, embarrassed chuckle. "And we've been treating you like an intern who can't project her voice." Emily met her eyes evenly. Volume isn't the same as authority. Silence followed that. Over the next few days, something remarkable happened. No one mocked her anymore. They asked her questions. They requested her input on emergency planning revisions. They invited her to speak during grand rounds. When she suggested improvements to chemical exposure protocols, they implemented them without argument. Her voice didn't get louder, but the room leaned in closer. A week later, as the two soldiers recovered in ICU, Dr. Halpern found her updating charts. "I owe you an apology," he said plainly. Emily looked up. "I judged you," he continued. "I confused quiet with weak." She gave a small smile. "Not anymore." Months passed. The federal evaluation concluded successfully. St. Matthew's earned commendation for rapid adaptability under leadership, specifically under Nurse Emily Carter. Before she left for her next assignments, the staff gathered in the same trauma wing where she had once stood invisible. This time, Dr. Halpern cleared his throat. When she first arrived, he admitted, "We underestimated her." A few guilty laughs. "But leadership," he continued, glancing at her, "doesn't always come in the loudest package." The Pentagon Liaison, standing near the back, gave her a respectful nod. Emily stepped forward to say goodbye. Her voice, as always, was calm. "You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to be right when it matters." And as she walked out of St. Matthew's Medical Center for the final time, no one doubted her authority again. Not because the Pentagon had said she was in charge, but because she had proven it.